Welcome back. Talk about rebuild in a can. This stuff is magical. You put this right on that engine, it's a rebuild in a can ready to rock, right? No, this is that Eastwood Pontiac Metallic Blue. I plan to paint the engine right here. Got a few more things to prep, so we're going to go call this the painting day for the Pontiac 350. In the last few videos, we've been assembling this old 350, getting it ready to go. I'm going to need now, to get this thing ready to paint, this Scotch-Brite pad. I sandblasted almost every piece of this engine prior to assembly and putting all the new parts in. It's like the bare aluminum, the heads are still cast bare. I put some primer on this because I didn't want it to flash rust. The heads have actually, surprisingly, haven't really rusted back at all. I see a couple little tiny spots, but I don't want to call that acceptable because I'm going to put a coat of epoxy on this entire engine. But in order to do so, I need to go ahead and just scuff the entire thing, just like you would anything else, getting it ready for paint, get it prepped. This is going to take care of any last little bits of paint that didn't come off in sandblast or any little nibs. Especially since I plan to paint these valve covers, I'm going to spend a little time on making them look pretty even. So basically, you get the idea. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is I've degreased this whole engine. I kept the oil from getting all over it. Now, if it was like, say, an actual Craigslist rebuild, and you're just going to put some paint on an old engine, you'd have several hours in trying to clean all the sludge off this engine, and then proceed with doing something like this. So I'll go ahead and get this whole thing keyed up, Scotch-Brited, ready to go, blow off the dust, and then we'll proceed with putting the epoxy paint on. She is all polished and cleaned and ready to go, so do not touch that surface or you'll get some fish eyes. This is a great time to practice painting. We're going to do some metallic paint. Pontiac Metallic Blue is what came on this, so we're going to have some fun painting some metallics. I love that Eastwood stuff, but first things first, I'm going to put some epoxy on it. And what I have to use up here, as you can tell from this can, it appears to be white paint because it is exactly just that. This is a white epoxy primer I had left over from the Mockingbird project. This stuff has a shelf life. It eventually goes bad, so might as well use it up. So I'm going to mix up just enough there to put in our cup. I'm going to guess probably it's a 1-to-1 mix, so I don't know if I do 50, that'd be way too much. 100, well, no, they do 100 milliliters. I think it'll be, so we'll do 50-50. So 50 milliliters of white, 50 milliliters of the catalyst, and then we'll see how that works out. I'm going to cut with a little bit of acetone, so it sprays that as a seal. So we'll get that mixed up and load it in our gun. All mixed up, ready to go. Hook up the hose, and we'll see how this looks. So let's give her hell. Okay. Let that flash off. And hit with one more coat, and we're done. Ain't nothing funner than watching paint dry or grass grow, but you get the idea. First coat's on, got pretty decent coverage. It almost kind of looks gray through the camera, but came out okay. It's a little hard to get the paint to blow up underneath that intake, but got on a little thick here, but surprisingly you see a tiny, maybe little run right there, but pretty minor. Like it. Coverage is pretty good so far, so I think one more coat of white, then we'll let that flash off, and then we'll hit it with our metallic blue, and our engine will be ready to put it back in the car. An all-white Pontiac engine doesn't look all that bad. It's been about 20 minutes. I think we're actually all flashed off, but laid out pretty smooth. Let's see here. Yeah, we're not sticking. That was like the last thing I painted was the intake. So I think we're okay to put some shining blue stuff on this thing, but just in case, one last look of a white Pontiac engine. The old Eastwood blue is all loaded up and ready to go. There you have it. Pontiac Blue 350 rebuild in a can. Craigslist ready. Actually, this engine is rebuilt, so it actually worked out really nice with that shiny new paint. That Eastwood stuff, the coverage is just amazing. This is like 1.5 coats. I didn't really get too carried away, but it covered over that white primer fantastically. So that was kind of an experiment. Just use it as some of my old primer, but all in all, happy with it. So I think I'm going to do it that way in the future if I have any leftover white primer, because it really covered really nice. Again, the secret here is probably the epoxy primer underneath. That really gets us a nice even base and flows out really, really, really good. Now this is going to flash off. It'll lose a little bit of its gloss, but not much, surprisingly. So this is going to be really cool. And I'll let you know one of my favorite little secrets. By the time you put the balancer pulley on here and stuff, I like that little blue ring in the middle. So that's one of those little goofy details. This is how they painted it, because you always see the black pulley is a little blue ring. So sorry, just my little thing there I wanted to share with you. But nonetheless, she is now painted Pontiac blue. Engine painting success. That is done, squared away. Let that dry for a couple, 2-3 days. And then what we'll do is pull all of our plastic off and get ready to put our engine back on the subframe, start installing all the accessories, starter, alternator, power steering, get the thing plumbed and get it ready. And I still got to go pick up the transmission. It is ready too. So same thing. We're going to get this thing all assembled on our subframe, test fire it, break in the camshaft, recheck the rear main for an oil leak. So stick around to the end of the video, see how I did a pre-check on it. You might think it's a bit ridiculous, but it worked. It passed. That's why I went ahead and painted it here today, because I didn't discover any leaks statically. So what's that all about? Stay tuned. But nonetheless, appreciate you following me on the journey of the old Lamborghini. Work on stabbing this engine back where it belongs and hear this thing run for the very first time ever since we've owned it. So looking forward to sharing that with you. So please don't forget to subscribe and hit that button. Help a guy out. I'd really like to see this thing keep growing. And of course, thanks again just as much for watching, commenting, and of course, anything else you'd like to know or see, or tell me, John, that was absolutely great or horrible, I'd like to know just the same. Appreciate you following me. Catch y'all next time. How to test the rear main seal, a one-piece rear main seal on a Pontiac? Well, you set it back at about 40 degrees, add 2 more quarts of oil so it's above the crankcase, and let it sit overnight and see if anything drips on the floor. So we'll find out there tomorrow morning. 24 hours later of our tilt back leak down test of the oil pan and rear main seal netted us absolutely nothing leaking on the floor, nothing on the rear of the oil pan. So I'm going to give this thing a clean bill of health.